Wake up, wake up, wake up. I am your host, Chantel, better known as Miss Recycle, and you are officially on the Wake Up and Smell the Coffee show, y'all. Let me tell y'all, okay? Today's topic is about fear, okay? I had to touch this topic, okay? And I got personal with it. Normally, I let Essential Glossary do its thing, which I am. I'm gonna let Essential Glossary read it, but there is certain um, points in here that I need to highlight and address, okay? So we're gonna get right into it, all right? We're living in a day and age right now where fear is just running rapidly, all right? So we have to know how to combat it, and we have to understand who's behind this fear, these entities. I told you about the Na. I told you about the what is it, the reversal grids and things like that. So those frequencies are causing fear, okay? They have a thing called fear frequency. I can't make this stuff up, y'all. The only thing I can do is enlighten you guys as to what's going on as I discover it. And that's just basically how it's been. And some of it has been personal experiences that has caused me to come across this information. So I want to share with you guys today about overcoming fear. All right. We have to overcome our fear because fear is what causes barriers, right? Fear, I say fear is the cousin of death. Most people say sleep is the cousin of death. I say fear is, because if you're moving in fear, you won't be able to accomplish your goal. Okay. You won't be able to do what is necessary because you're operating in fear. Fear will control you and prevent you from doing whatever it is that you have to do. So I want you guys to take a listen to overcoming fear, and then I'm going to go through some of these points with you along the way. Okay, it's very long, it's kind of lengthy, so I'm going to be stopping in between, and if I have to do a part two, that's what I'm going to do. But today's topic is overcoming fear. I want you guys to take a listen. Oh, and you already know, I'm going to let Google read it for your fact checkers, because you ain't gonna be fact checking me. Fact check Ascension Glossary. Here we go.
To overcome fear, we must comprehend the real reasons we feel afraid and realize that our fears are pointing to the places within us that need attention. Many humans have taken on the fear-based predator mind belief systems or alien mind control for the purpose of consciousness enslavement. All people that indulge in unrestrained and uncorrected negative emotional states of fear will attract demonic or dark spirits, which generate energetic blockages and cords in our light body. At this critical juncture during the bifurcation shift, each person is choosing if they want to exist in spiritual bondage or freedom. To support this process, we look directly at fear to show us the spiritual lessons we have yet to master inside of ourselves and where darkness is blocking us from finding harmony in our direct relationship with God.
Wow.
As we travel through the pinnacle of the shifting timelines and trigger events, many people are breaking through amnesiac barriers to access the dark contents of the subconscious mind and pain body where collective fear programming has been stored. People are conditioned to hide from their fears, to avoid the darkness and where they feel pain, and to bury these bones deep beneath the walls of conscious perception to forget about them. These unaddressed places within us of hidden darkness, unhealed pain, and fear are pushing through the internal barriers into full view of the conscious mind. This can manifest as tremendous torrents of mental and emotional pressure that greatly increases the perceptions of fear and pain, anxiety and suffering that are being experienced in our lives. When we are clouded by the lens of fear, we are easily overwhelmed and can feel mentally paralyzed as a result of the bombardment of fear, running its frequency throughout our nervous system.
Wow.
During the dark night of the soul, many people do not have clarity on the actual causal source of where their fear and pain impulses are coming from. Much of what is being experienced now is being greatly amplified through the hidden fear, buried trauma, and emotional wounds from our past.
Wow.
We cannot run away from darkness, and we cannot hide from our hidden and buried fears any longer.
No.
This month, we study the perceptions of fear so that we can see the macrocosm agenda of using the frequency of fear to increase darkness in our world and create mind control slaves. To reclaim our sanity and spiritual freedom, we must make the effort to overcome fear.
Yep.
The frequency of fear represents physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bondage. It destroys the capacity for expanding light into our consciousness, while it produces slavery in the mind.
Wow.
Unrestrained fear is a destroyer. It destroys love, it destroys trust, it destroys life, it destroys relationships, and it destroys people.
It destroys
For this purpose,
people.
spreading fear-based mind control and dark spirits to hijack the subconscious thoughts and conscious belief systems of the masses is the primary consciousness manipulation tool of the negative alien agenda and the controllers. All Earth inhabitants have been conditioned to run fear-based thoughts as the default setting in the subconscious mind, in order to attract and grow even more darkness.
Are you guys
It
listening?
takes personal will and commitment to understand how fear works in the hidden shadows of darkness,
It really
in order
does.
to find the strength to fully transform it into light.
Wow.
All of us have the internal power to transform darkness into light. Being courageous enough to face our deepest and darkest fears and be willing to put forth the effort to overcome them is the path we all must take to secure our consciousness freedom during the ascension cycle.
That's right.
Overcoming fears is an important spiritual lesson in higher consciousness development. We must address fears from the place of observation in order to demystify them and see where they are actually coming from. When we have the courage to address our hidden fears, we are facing the hidden places of darkness that have existed in parts of ourselves.
Are y'all listening?
To overcome fear, we must comprehend the real reasons we feel afraid and realize that our fears are pointing to the places within us that need attention.
Suppression.
Places that need unconditional love and spiritual understanding in order for us to continue to evolve and grow. Fear stunts our forward progress and emotional growth. It blocks our interaction with our inner spirit and it generates disharmony in our relationship with God. Right thinking and facing fear. At this critical juncture during the bifurcation shift, each person chooses if they want to exist in spiritual bondage or freedom.
Wow.
This decision
You got a
begins with gaining
choice.
control over the mind, to remove blockages through the willingness to face darkness and overcome fear.
It ain't easy,
This
but
is
we
the
can do
decision to
it.
commit to the process of organizing our lifestyle to prioritize our evolution towards developing a deeper connection with God, and our prayerful request to help us overcome darkness in order to achieve spiritual freedom.
Wow.
This comes with the necessity of reprogramming our mind into right effort and right thinking, and to remove all that fear content which obstructs the relationship with our spirit from fully bonding. Right thinking gives us the personal power to remove the state of our suffering. All judgments, fears, and interpretations have to be suspended, and when they occur, they are registered for observation and then let go and released.
Let go.
We need to dissect the
release.
frequency of fear in all the ways it impacts our subconscious attitudes and behaviors by paying
Wow.
attention to how we think and interpret our world through the inner dialogue we have with ourselves. Fear programs must be extracted from out of our body and
Fear
cleared from controlling our
programs.
consciousness
Pay
by paying
attention.
attention to what we must learn from the lessons that
Wow,
come from
we
the
said
fear.
it at the same time.
Fear shows us the spiritual lessons we have yet to master inside of ourselves, as it demonstrates where darkness is blocking us in finding harmony in our direct relationship with God. How much effort will you place on learning how to face fears and stop them from controlling your mind and controlling your life in order to be free? When
How
our
much
minds can
effort?
only think about surviving perceived threats, we are easily controlled and manipulated through blind spots created from our own fears.
Wow.
This defines the state of mental bondage and suffering. Through perpetual states of feeling fear and anxiety, our critical thinking, executive function, and emotional self-regulation skills that help us to resolve problems in our life are essentially eliminated. We are unable to face challenges and solve problems effectively when fear lives in our mind. Overcoming fear is the main lesson. We have to regain control over our mind and be able to accurately assess ourselves and our surroundings.
Yeah.
Overcoming fear also contains vital keys in becoming the director of our own lives, as well as leading us to achieve mental, emotional, and spiritual freedom, or a life without suffering.
Wow.
When we overcome fear, we can break free from impulsive reactions that are triggered from domination-based tactics used in the everyday world and from manipulators that use aggression and intimidation in order to take control over our mental perceptions and emotional reactions.
You hear that?
From this awareness, we can see these interactions as lessons for mastering our personal growth, which we gain incredible spiritual strength from. We live in a mind-controlled world that uses fear-based perceptions to socially engineer slavery.
Listen.
What steps can you take now to begin to free yourself from the patterns of mental bondage and personal suffering, forming strong mental skills for recontextualizing fear and improving your ability to emotionally self-regulate? What spiritual lessons does fear reveal to you now? Frequency of fear and feeling unsafe.
Frequencies. Listen.
The frequency of fear is what makes people feel threatened and unsafe in the world, as well as feel disconnected and separated from other people, which generates disunity in the world. Disunity breeds self-deception, false perceptions, and many negative ego character flaws that generate relationally unsafe people. People with a lack of empathy or ethical conduct have a tendency to deeply criticize, blame, or judge others. When fear rules us, darkness rules us. It also rules our relationships, which extinguishes the possibility for sharing deep human heart connections and forming empathic and loving bonds. Please take note of how fear is rooted in darkness and can destroy ethical conduct, respect, and
Take
empathy for
note.
others very easily.
That's right.
Fear destroys the hope for unified cooperation to
Destroys
exist
hope.
between people, which breaks down compassionate communication
Breaks
that
it
could be directed
down.
towards problem-solving greater issues that impact all of humanity. One controller-type person that uses fear to manipulate others for power can easily destroy the accumulated unity, positivity, and trust earned in an entire organization or community in one fell swoop. Thus, fear is the main manipulation tool of the controller archetype that is designed to generate perceptions of being threatened and feeling unsafe in the company of others and in any kind of social setting. It also produces relationally unsafe people, who are generally unethical, disrespectful people that lack empathy for others. Essentially, unsafe people have weak character qualities that tend to spread fear and disunity, which make other people feel unsafe while in their presence.
Wow.
Many unsafe people have developed walls to distance themselves from others because of their hidden fears that stem from
Many
unhealed
of us
personal trauma.
go through this.
All of us have been in the company of an unsafe person and noticed how uncomfortable and tense we may feel while in their presence.
Yeah.
When we cannot be authentic and truthful in the presence of another because we fear they will judge, persecute, or attack us for revealing ourselves, we feel deeply uncomfortable, drained, and unsafe when we are in their presence.
Listen.
Many relationally unsafe people are ruled by their fears, and many of their reactions and impulses are made unconsciously through their unhealed mental or emotional triggers.
Trauma.
Let's bring to mind some fear-based negative ego qualities that create relationally unsafe people. People we cannot be completely truthful around without fearing we will suffer some kind of repercussion, attack, or punishment.
Right.
Unsafe people can be
Abuse.
judgmental, blaming, manipulative, dishonest, narcissistic,
Listen.
emotionally unstable, irresponsible, gossips,
Mm.
gaslighters, control freaks, backstabbers,
What?
demanding, and entitled with superior attitudes.
Backstab.
Sounds like a lot of darkness is present in those behaviors, doesn't it? When in the company of
Backstabbers.
people that demonstrate these fear-based negative ego qualities, we may need to create strong boundaries and set the terms of our interaction with them.
Boundaries.
In some cases, we may need to sever the connection entirely.
Sever
There
it.
is generally nothing positive that will come from
Nope.
continually feeding destructive, harmful, or abusive relationship patterns
Nope.
that refuse to heal or evolve.
It won't.
We have
You
to
gotta
plant
find a
seeds
way
where
to
there is fertile soil
get rid
if
of
we want
it.
a garden to grow. And to shift out of the negative polarity of fear, one may need to pull weeds or walk away from that relationship pattern as an act of self-love
Pull
and
them weeds out the
self-preservation.
ground, baby. Get rid of them.
However, if we habitually feel unsafe with others, it may be that we need to demystify the reasons we feel afraid and discern the difference between people that demonstrate unsafe behaviors and those who demonstrate responsible and safe behaviors.
A lot
This
of it has
also
to do
means
with
that if we feel
childhood
unsafe,
trauma.
it is our spiritual duty to build safety within ourselves by developing inner strength based in the higher qualities that make us a safe person to be around.
Right.
Strong spiritual foundation is built
That's
upon the
true.
cornerstone of moral character development and building trust inside and outside for ourselves.
Yep.
Trust is built upon the consistent ethical behaviors of moral conduct where people are treated with equal respect and kindness and allowed to be who they are without repercussion.
Treat
As
others
much as you may
like
feel
you want
unsafe
them
with
to
others,
treat
are you
you.
yourself a safe person for others to be around?
Right.
Many times,
Evaluate
what we
yourself
fear
as
in others is
well.
a hidden unconscious behavior that we have not cleared from within our own deepest selves. Until we
Trauma.
are willing to look at these hidden fears, we can also easily project or transfer these fears onto other people. As a basic guideline for extracting fears by replacing negative qualities with positive qualities is monitoring day-to-day thoughts and behaviors. We can look to GSF behavior or simply adhere to the golden rule. Treat others as you would like to be treated and intend to build self-esteem through esteeming actions.
GSF,
At
God,
some point, it is
sovereign,
helpful to
free.
realize that the current accepted reality of negative ego behaviors and the frequency of fear has been used against people of the earth as a psychological weapon to weaken them.
Listen.
Fear is broadcasted everywhere in our environment, and this has
Everywhere.
produced relationally unsafe people all around us. Fear weakens moral character and it stunts the higher attributes of generosity, kindness, and tolerance for others.
Yes, it does.
The manufacture of endless enemies in the mainstream media maintains the mass perception of continual threats, which condition more fears and learned helplessness into the unconscious mind and pain body of humanity.
Wow.
The fear broadcast drills down into our personal lives, infecting our thoughts, behaviors, and relationships with the frequency of fear. The frequency of fear produces feelings and perceptions that we are unsafe, unsafe with others, unsafe inside ourselves. Knowing that we live on a planet imprisoned through the mass broadcast of the frequency of fear can be
Listen.
helpful to disentangle us from the mainstream fear broadcasts and fear-based reactions of people around us.
Fear
Refuse to take
frequencies.
on and wear the frequency of fear running in the exterior. When we can see the fear agendas operating in the external, we can go within and sift through what is sourcing from within. Becoming aware of what fears may have been taken on through being with fear-based people, as well as noting the outer agendas that use forms of electronic harassment and media-based mind control.
People who
Establishing
instill
safety
fear
to
in
overcome
you.
fear.
Fear-based people.
If we are to begin to recognize the qualities that define safe people and safe relationships, we need to first understand what a safe person is and why we need that kind of safety to overcome fear. We need people in our life that will be honest with us, telling us where we are creating harm and potentially where we may need to change in order to
Right.
improve ourselves.
Correction.
We need friends that walk according to the truth and are accepting of us,
Advice.
yet they are honest about our weaknesses and faults
Constructive
without condemning
criticism.
us. Relationships in which people use shame, guilt, or condemn us for our actions are ultimately destructive and traumatizing, which does not produce emotional or spiritual growth.
Okay.
These are the unsafe people that require us to be different than who we are in order to be accepted and conditionally loved by them. Conditional love that must be earned is useless. It is a made-up projection from the negative ego demands and is not real love.
What?
If we do not have this kind of safe person around us yet, we can become that person for ourselves and others. As we intend to clear fears and improve our character, we attract similar people.
Wow.
Safe people can be
That's
fully
good to
present with
know.
others, connecting at deep and intimate levels.
Right.
Safe people can speak truth to one another without being offended or taking things personally.
Right.
Safe people give others the opportunity to grow and become their highest expression for them as God intended.
Wow.
Safe people create loving and positive feelings and inspire good works, such as being in service to others. Safe people create relationships that allow people to be as they are and draw us closer to feel unity and connection with all of life. In order to heal our mental and emotional body to overcome deep fears, we must know how to establish safety within ourselves and recognize what makes us feel unsafe. Taking good care of our body, having a consistent meditation or spiritual practice to become more inner directed, avoiding exposure to self harming behaviors, and learning how to manage fear or trauma reactions is essential to being safe within yourself. The first step is to identify what makes us feel safe and stable and to do those things every day. We must make an effort to identify what choices we do have and make
Consistency.
changes in our environment that can increase our sense of safety and comfort while in our physical space. Assess the physical and emotional safety of your environment and realize it may be necessary to remove people or situations from your life who are entrenched in destructive and harmful behaviors in order
Listen.
to make the necessary changes to your lifestyle.
Wow.
When we are more competent in emotional self regulation, our inner safety is enhanced so that trust can be formed as we discover that we really do have the resources inside of us for feeling comforted and safe.
Now, listen, this is what I wanted to let you guys know. It's okay to allow people to be themselves, right? But it's up to each individual as to what you're willing to accept from a person, right? So you may have a person that's very ignorant, rude, and you're like, okay, that's them. That's just who they are, right? But you don't have to accept their ignorance. There comes a point in time where you have to eliminate yourself from certain people who you are not able to tolerate their behavior, okay? So when you're not able to tolerate the behavior that they are dishing out to you, even though they're being themselves, there comes a point in time that you just have to walk away from it, because if not, it will bring you down. And a lot of times you will become that person unintentionally, but sometimes you end up stooping down to that person's level, right? In order for you guys to even be able to like get along or communicate, and then that can become a detriment to you. So I just wanted to point that out. That's very, very important. Okay. Now listen.
Imposters manipulate fear perception.
Ooh,
An important part of improving our feeling of safety is improving our emotional
amongst
competency
us.
to recognize that negative emotions in ourselves and others greatly cloud our discernment and interpretation of events. If people only see reality through the lens of fear, most of the time their interpretation is based on false evidence appearing real.
Mm-hmm.
Fear is the manipulation tool of imposters. When we have the
Wow.
capability to emotionally self regulate, appropriate communication is not avoided through unhealed fears triggering some unwanted emotion. We all can
Wow.
learn to free ourselves from fear based thoughts and emotions like anger, bitterness,
Mm-hmm.
resentment, retaliation, and other destructive emotions
Emotions
that
that
cause
cause
hurt and
hurt
pain.
and pain.
Yet everywhere we go in this world, we will get the opportunity to see that
Everywhere.
dark forces continually manipulate those same fears in others
They
in order to gain
everywhere.
control over them.
Yeah.
All imposters and dark forces, human or non human, that have the primary interest in exerting power and control, or taking the superior position to rule over others, will attempt to manipulate our darkest and
Mm.
deepest fears, most of which are hidden from our conscious mind.
Wow.
This is how the 3D system works on planet Earth, as long as it remains in the hands of the controllers that desire to keep humanity in servitude. Many humans have subconsciously taken on the fear based predator mind belief systems that were given to them from alien mind control for the purpose of consciousness enslavement. As long as we
Nah,
allow fear
nah,
to exert
nah.
control over us, these dark forces that are visible and non visible will use fear tactics at every opportunity to manipulate our mental perceptions into
Fear is the
fear so that
cousin
we
of
remain
death.
in bondage and enslaved.
Wow.
This is why it is imperative that we do the self inquiry process to drill down and source our personal fears and anxieties, and to observe our surface thoughts and behaviors, because we hide what we fear the most.
Yeah.
How we see our hidden fears is through our impulses, the things we blurt out, or the inner dialogue we catch in our mind. What remains hidden and suppressed can manipulate us without our knowing that we are being controlled by forces in the external. Dark
Wow.
forces manipulate all the content of our hidden fears, and we all are
Suppressed
exposed to some level of this
emotions.
dark manipulation in the world. Bondage loops of fear. When we break down the main causes of experiencing fear in our life, we must assess which side of the negative polarity we are in and where we have the most vulnerability to be exploited. Fear is used to create victims and victimizers that exchange places with each other to form bondage loops within the same polarity. People live in fear feeling they are victims, when their perpetrators also live in fear as the victimizers.
Mm-hmm.
It is an interchangeable bondage loop that cannot be
Victim,
broken until you can see what
victimizer.
side of the polarity that you play into.
And a lot
To
of
break the
times the
cycle of
victim
fear based
becomes
bondage loops, we have to stop
the
playing out that pattern
victimizer.
of the negative polarity based in fear, and we must reach out for the unconditional love of God.
Ooh, yes.
Many people that are living with unhealed subconscious fears vacillate between feeling threatened by fears and then lashing out at others to regain the sensation of having personal control over their environment.
Mm-hmm.
Are we living with subconscious fears and perceptions of outer threats so that we manipulate and control the environment and others in order to feel more secure?
Magic.
Do we
That's where the
experience
black
sensations of
magic
fear
comes
and
in
mental
at.
paralysis often in our
Manipulation
day
of
to
the
day thoughts and
environment.
emotions? When do we react and use fear to get what we want from other people or situations? What are the causal events and the real reasons that we feel triggered in fear or feel threatened?
Mm.
The first step is recognizing where fear has bondage loops and the exchanges we make that have some kind of control over us.
Most
By
people, it's in
taking an
their
honest
past.
inventory of what places inside of us are feeling fear, we can then study the reasons why we feel this fear and how we react to it. To overcome fear, we must
Suppressed
study
trauma.
ourselves, witness our mental thoughts and emotional reactions to other people, places, and things. The negative polarity in the frequency of fear matches the vibration that attaches to black energy and dark spirits.
Yep.
All
Black
people that
magic.
indulge in unrestrained and uncorrected negative emotional states of fear will attract demonic or dark spirits, and these negative spirits generate energetic blockages and cords in our light body. This can greatly amplify sensations of chaos and anxiety internally within the body because there are hitchhikers hanging on.
Hitchhikers.
The spirits of mental bondage. All of us must learn how to overcome our fears, which dissolves the darkness that exists within the layers of our minds so that we can become free of mental bondage. When we are no longer controlled by fear-based belief systems and reactions, we can stop allowing fear bondage loops and the dark spirits they attract to make an internal dwelling inside our bodies, minds, and emotions.
Right.
When we have cleaned out these internal dark dwellings, the spaces where there was darkness are now filled with light. In this state, there is a tangible experience of mental and emotional freedom. There are no more automatic impulses that internalize the frequency of fear or darkness. You know that you are not that. The most common fear bondage loops take root in the pain body from places where fear generated walls of separation. Behind these walls are the most common core fears and dark spirit attachments that produce great suffering in the mind and emotions of human beings.
Listen, y'all.
It's time to tell the hitchhikers to take a hike.
Mm-hmm.
The spirit of unworthiness is a lack of self-love and self-acceptance that is the result of an internal battle with one's own personal
We
image.
have to love ourselves.
When we feel unworthy,
That's
we are
right.
hiding beliefs that we are not good enough, fears of
So we
inadequacy and
accept
failure, powerlessness,
certain things.
which are the result of
Ooh.
false mental images of perfection or holding to standards that are not realistic.
Wow.
We may harbor hidden feelings of unworthiness because we feel separate and that we do not belong, and that we did not rise to achieve goals that were thrust upon us by other people. The spirit of self-entitlement is to compensate for unworthiness and feeling powerlessness. The other
Self-entitlement.
side
Those
of
people that come
unworthiness
in your
is
life and try to
self-entitlement.
take over your
It is the
shit.
belief that you deserve special privileges or to be given something without personal effort or having to earn it.
Mm-hmm.
Imposing unrealistic demands onto others and feeling sorry for yourself when you don't get what you want.
Yep.
Healing focus, practicing self-love and self-acceptance, calling upon the spirit of unconditional love and humility. The spirit of guilt is the feeling of responsibility or remorse for doing something that is believed to be bad, such as a perceived offense, crime, wrongdoing, whether it is real or imagined.
Mm-hmm.
The spirit of shame is the painful feeling that we are a bad person arising from the consciousness of something that happened and that we believe is disgraceful, wrong, or evil, that could have been carried out by oneself or another person.
Mm-hmm.
Guilt and shame usually interchange together with the fear-based beliefs that somehow we are bad, or we did something that made us a bad person.
They
We
usually go
may believe
together.
God is punishing us. The spirit of self-righteousness defends hidden fears of guilt and shame, generally justifying actions or believing that what you did was morally right and justifiable even when it generated harm. Self-righteous people are intolerant of others and take a morally superior attitude to defend their ego position in regard to their belief systems. They may feel so guilty about something they did that they preach to others about the evils of their own offenses without disclosing it, making them a hypocrite.
Wow. You
Healing
see that
focus,
a lot.
practicing self-forgiveness, self-compassion, and holding the observer point.
Gotta forgive
We
yourself.
must find ways to let go of the painful past and know that right now in this moment, we can draw on our inner power by being fully present. Call upon the spirits of Christ. The spirit of lack of trust is not believing or trusting in ourselves, that we lack something that we need and lack confidence in our own abilities to make it through life's challenges. The spirit of self-doubt is from the chronic lack of confidence that holds us back from leading our life and sensing opportunities where we can be more authentic people. Lack of trust and self-doubt are both poison to the mind and related to emotional issues that hide problems with self-esteem and self-respect.
Wow.
The spirit of arrogance is the other side that makes up for hidden self-doubt and lack of self-esteem. The quality of being a know-it-all, or believing that you know more than everyone else, and that you are capable of something that you really are not. Arrogance is incredibly selfish and it tends to generate tremendous amounts of destruction and harm in the world without having a conscience that feels remorse.
Arrogance, yes. I
Healing
agree.
focus, building safety, trustworthiness, and empathy within the self. Call upon the spirit of purity and the spirit of humility.
Mm-hmm.
The spirit of
Humility
betrayal is
helps
a
us
deeply
grow,
painful
they
fear
say.
hidden in the collective consciousness.
Ooh,
It is the
spirit of
pain felt when
betrayal.
being deceived and then betrayed by those you trusted and loved the most. It is a violation of trust and bond. Spiritual betrayal is one of the most toxic and emotionally damaging fears based on being betrayed by that which had represented God, spirit, or holiness in the belief systems of that person. The spirit of abandonment is the fear of being deserted and left alone to fend for yourself, suffering with a great loss and the pain of grieving. It can be the consequence of betrayal, as many
Least
people continue to play
expected.
out sides of betrayal and abandonment with each other in the sexual misery programming.
Right.
Abandonment stems from our deepest subconscious fears that we have been totally abandoned by our real parent, our God parent, who left us here alone to face the darkness. The spirit of fear and intimacy is the defense mechanism that avoids emotional closeness and vulnerability with other people as a result of the fear of emotional demands that may be required and hidden fears that once invested, the relationship may cycle into patterns of betrayal and abandonment. Healing focus. Building a strong
That
core
was
with
the spirit
self-care,
of fear
compassionate
and
communication for
intimacy.
requesting emotional needs and resolving intimate relationship conflicts while setting healthy boundaries. Call upon the spirits of Christ and the spirit of unconditional love and kindness. The spirit of anger is a strong emotional reaction that may occur when people feel violated, victimized, or their personal boundaries have been crossed or they suffered losses.
Wow.
Anger commonly leads to toxic feelings of resentment and bitterness. The spirit of rage is an intense and growing anger in which people lose control over their impulses and act out destructively.
That's
Many
dangerous.
times, in expressing anger and rage,
Wow.
people have short-term or partial entity possessions that continue to feed the destructive impulses that lead to violence. Rage is the most dangerous risk for full satanic possession.
Wow.
The spirit of contempt is the result of anger that forms the belief that something or someone is beneath consideration and having disdain and disgust for them. Not letting go of past anger and resentments can breed contempt and bitterness towards others, believing they are subhuman or of lower
I
status.
believe that. You take it out on others. You take it out
Healing
on
focus.
everybody.
Pay attention to reactions and instead make the choice to respond with higher emotion. Dedicate to find ways to create calmness and stillness daily to relieve angry emotions. Focus on impulse control. Call upon the spirits of
That's
Christ and
not
the spirit of
easy,
kindness, patience,
but
and
you can
forbearance.
do it.
The spirit of fear is the feeling of being afraid of some kind of threat or danger, real or imagined. Many people are numb from feelings of fear through freeze reactions, which is activated in the nervous system when fight-flight
Freeze
responses are exhausted.
reactions.
The fear response in our
Fight or
sympathetic nervous
flight.
system initiates a physiological reaction in response to a perceived harmful event, attack, or threat to survival. The spirit of denial is used to escape the reality of the unpleasant fears or dangers by stating they do not exist through the refusal to address them.
Wow.
Sometimes people may admit to the fear or danger but deny the responsibility to deal with the situation by blaming someone or something else. Transferring responsibility of your own emotional reactions to others is referred to as projection.
Projection.
Healing focus. Be willing to admit fears and be honest with yourself. When you see the fear as lessons for personal growth without judgment, you can choose to heal the fear. Denial of fears or denying unpleasant situations will only make them worse. Commit to practice loving kindness meditations directed to yourself and others. Reconcile your relationship with God. Call upon the spirits of Christ and the spirits of discipline, kindness, patience, and truth. The spirit of entrapment is to feel a sense of being caught in a trap, being tricked and deceived into something that has grave consequences.
Listen.
Feeling abandoned by God. The spirit of enslavement is a system in which principles of property are applied to people, where individuals own, buy, and sell other humans as a form of property.
Wow.
As we learn about the negative alien agenda, it is clear that hidden in our collective subconscious and psyche, all of humanity is aware at some level we are not free beings on the earth, and that we live in a global system of slavery. Facing how we were enslaved and what really has happened in human history, and reclaiming our truth is the only path to liberate ourselves. The spirit of deception is a vital part of perpetrating psychological warfare in denial and dishonesty to entrap and enslave. It is the act of propagating beliefs in things that are not true, or not the whole truth, as in half-truths or omission. Deception can involve disguise, propaganda, and sleight of hand, as well as distraction, camouflage, or concealment. There is also
Skin
self-deception,
suits.
as in actions that are duplicitous.
That's a form of
Healing
deception.
focus. Developing courage to face the current terrain on planet Earth as a system of world slavery and world suffering. Educate yourself on human trafficking, sex slavery, and disaster economies built upon human suffering. We are in a spiritual war and we must find ways to reconcile our relationship with God and connect with our inner spirit. We find true freedom when we remove fear and disunity with God, and then can experience God ever presently with us.
What?
Call upon the spirits of Christ and the spirit of truth and freedom to vanquish any areas where there may be dark deception in your life.
That's right.
Fear builds demonic houses. The imposters attempt to increase the bondage loops of the
No
spirits
fear
of
in
fear
this
in the minds of
house.
people who are building demonic houses within their consciousness from their own mind and fear-based thought forms. When the body, mind, and heart are corrupted by repeated fear-based thoughts, the internal structure to house these energies, these qualities of demonic spirits, will reside in the mind and consciousness body.
I believe that.
These lower quality spirits manifest tremendous pain and suffering, and are also called satanic or Luciferian forces. In severe cases of repeated destructive spiritual behavior, this can evolve to a thought form possession around a certain theme, such as addiction. The controllers know that in order to maintain a system of consciousness slavery, they must devise a control-based society in which people will obey power structures without the ability to question authority or ensure accountability of actions.
Wow.
When people believe in the fear-based programming set up as belief systems in the 3D world,
It's all
they
about your
easily act as the border
beliefs.
guards of the matrix. They are willing to self-enforce unethical laws on others, no matter how corrupt or tyrannical the society. The most important tool for any controller being that desires to have total power over others in order to steal global resources is to manipulate fear in the minds of people.
Oh my
Whether that narrative of
goodness.
fear is real or imagined is of no consequence, as the mass perception of fear is the only thing that matters.
Wow.
Through the promotion of the mass perception of fear, a controller may conquer nations, conquer territories, and conquer an entire planet.
Y'all hear that?
We must see the fear-based programming operating in the global scape and understand how it is used in the macrocosm for producing human slavery, in order to free ourselves of the personal fears that make us suffer, building demonic houses that block our highest spiritual expression.
Wow.
Executive function and emotional self-regulation. While most of humanity is unaware of the darkness that exists in fear-based perceptions that govern the decisions they make, it
Yeah.
robs them of the executive function required in having the cognitive control that is needed to help them function more
Whether you know
effectively
it
in
or
every area
not,
of their
it's
lives.
affecting you.
If a person does not have self-discipline or control over their own mental processes and impulses, it
Listen.
impairs their ability to be an independent thinker, which allows for autonomy over the direction of their own life. This means their life is not their own. They are unable to emotionally self-regulate and assess the environment.
Wow.
They are weakened in their ability to monitor their thoughts and behaviors that assist in the attainment of their personal goals. When a person refuses to be responsible for their thoughts and behaviors, they are run by their external perceptions and fears, and are generally being easily manipulated by other people or dominating forces.
Wow. You can't map it
Essentially,
out like the
consistent
equalizer.
fear-based thoughts impair executive function and cognitive control, which weakens brain function and mental processes over time, and is similar to brain impairment from an injury.
Wow.
When fear-based thinking is not corrected, it can lead to many mental disorders such as learning disabilities and attention deficit, as well as amplifications of psychic attack and dark interference.
Y'all hear that?
Learning disabilities impair people from adapting their behaviors in order to gain different results in their life situation. It is the inability to evaluate and organize information that allows a person to accurately assess their surroundings and respond to it effectively. The frequency of fear is a toxic stress that has damaging effects on behavior, as well as the nervous system and brain chemistry, weakening the
Listen,
frontal lobe
y'all.
and impairing the range of
Please
mental
listen.
processes. It is important to understand that fear-based thinking is highly toxic, and that wrong thinking and negative attitudes skew perceptions into common symptoms of classic learning disabilities.
Wow.
Fear damages the brain's ability to receive and process information. It impairs perception and intuition.
Y'all hear
On the
that?
ascending roadmap to self-ownership, we must
Mental
grasp the spiritual
illness.
lessons of fear that we must overcome. In overcoming fear, we can improve our brain function and mental processes that enable positive behaviors that help us to make healthy and balanced choices for ourselves and our families. When we can clear fear and instead focus attention, meditate and hold observer point, it strengthens our mental flexibility so that we can filter out distractions, retain information, prioritize tasks, and control impulses. All people have the potential to develop these mental skills and improve their brain function by being provided with support and growth promoting environments. This is how any person can regain strong executive function skills and emotional self-regulation, which increases coherent mental and emotional body integration. Ego annihilation and fear of death. The predator mind or negative ego is a mental fear program that runs on the frequency of fear. It simulates the experience in the body that the personality is under some kind of threat, which surfaces emotional fears of personal annihilation or death.
I can't make
These
this
many
up.
fears rise up from the subconscious and pain body, which generate automatic impulses and reactions when they are denied space to be neutrally witnessed in the conscious mind.
Wow.
When fears are denied or suppressed, they create mental barriers and emotional aberrants or places in our mental and emotional body that collect dead
believe
energy, which further generates more accumulated pain in the body.
Yeah.
As a result of denial and facing deep fears, a false identity is assumed to defend its position, placed in the front of the conscious mind as a coping mechanism to continually deflect the fears on the surface. Ultimately, every fear that we experience is hardwired into the negative ego program, which is designed to stimulate subconscious terror about perceived threats against our existence. If we better understand that negative ego fear programming is the design used to produce and manufacture slavery, then we are able to see that our personal fears are actually the mechanism used on planet Earth to keep us trapped in bondage. If we allow fears to take us over, we are allowing ourselves to be trapped and enslaved by them.
Listen.
Essentially, the fear program that is the negative ego was manufactured by the negative aliens to capture souls and make them slaves through the continual feedback loop of broadcasting fear and death. The negative ego layers has autonomic trigger buttons in the pain body to release sensations of psychological emotional terror throughout our nervous system, so that we feel so shocked and numbed out by the fears that we refuse to face them.
Wow. Y'all
When
hear
we are
that?
identified with our mind as the source of individuality, we are disconnected from our spiritual source and authentic higher self, and as a consequence, we will continually experience looping thoughts that trigger emotional fears and anxiety. When we face our fears by making the pattern conscious in our awareness, we are able to neutrally witness them. In that moment, you are disidentifying with that pattern of fear as you. In the neutral witness process, we bring the unconscious aspects of our darkest fears to the surface of our mind in order to shed light upon them, which many times will dissolve the negative pattern and the emotional charge associated with the fears. Ultimately, when we disidentify with our fears and we disidentify with the thoughts in our mind, we can express our thoughts and feelings with clarity and coherence. But there is no difference in what you have said impacting your sense of self.
I believe
When we
that.
can express ourselves without believing the mind is what defines who we are, we can express ourselves fully, whether it's labeled right or wrong, or whether others have judged what you have said. None of this has bearing upon your sense of self and your deeper connection. In fully resolving our fears, we will need to make peace in our beliefs and feelings around death. The conflicts we have with death are deeply connected to our unresolved spiritual conflicts in our relationship with God. We all encounter transition phases in life that are similar to enduring the death process. These are defined through the cycles that deeply transform us, marking our stages of spiritual development that show up as milestone events along our life path.
Okay.
All of us will undergo the transition phase of death, and it is important that we prepare ourselves for that inevitable next stage of our consciousness journey. Addressing fears of death. There are many different ways to perceive the death passage through the lens of many different belief systems. What is important is that you explore your own personal beliefs and experiential knowledge about the death process, and come to the place within yourself that you have made peace with death and dying, which is also the primary conflict to heal in order to overcome fears. One of the most paralyzing fears that humans have inherited from the process of non-consciousness wiping is that we are terrified of the unknown and what happens after death. This is the result of having our real spiritual identity and history taken away, and not remembering who we are as multidimensional beings.
Deja vu.
People that have suffered severe trauma or abuse have much more intense crises of faith that fuel fears related to unresolved spiritual conflicts around the death process. If in the last year you have felt an intense rising of inner fears and anxiety that has become unmanageable and miserable, a helpful exercise will be to spend time resolving the source of fears as related to addressing personal fears related to death.
Yeah.
When we prepare ourselves for the death process, we understand the death of the ego mind, and this is an important part of our commitment to developing
To
our
be
consciousness
reborn
on a spiritual
again.
journey. Most people
Kill
do
your
not think
old
of what they will
self
experience or feel when they reflect on
for
what they
your
have
new
done with their
self.
life on earth
That's
when they
all.
have transitioned to the next dimension. When communicating with earth-based humans that have passed their body, the most prevalent experience I found was regret. Regret that they did not do more with their life. Regret they did not unconditionally love everyone.
Wow.
Regret that fear stopped them from achieving important events that would have changed their timeline and improved the lives of future generations.
Y'all hear that?
Life goes on after we drop the physical body, and it is as real as you can feel yourself right now.
Yeah.
It is even
We
more
can
real than
change
our
our
lifetimes
story.
spent on earth. Physiology of
Listen.
fear. When we understand how fear is created in the body, it is helpful in releasing the grip of anxiety and fear patterns. Now, let's discover how the body's physiology is affected by fear and trauma and how that is exploited by dark forces.
Listen.
Hardware,
This is
three
where they
brains and
at.
nervous system. Our biology has three distinctly different processors of energy and information, two conscious and one functioning below radar. We are aware of our thoughts and emotions, but we are less aware of what the survival brain is doing below our conscious radar, and how this is affecting the way we feel. The survival brain is the one that takes your hand off the stove
Emotion.
before the other two brains realize that you have burned your hand. It is incredibly fast at responding to what is happening in our environment in order to keep the body safe. Each human body comes with a preloaded software program that says we are keeping this body alive. So, what is going on in the lower brain, the subconscious areas below the conscious mind radar? Software,
What's going on?
survival programs. The lower brain or subconscious mind basically runs in three modes: relax, fight, flight, and freeze. Again, to keep it very simple, we are using a traffic stoplight as a model.
Wow.
From Stephen Porges, Polyvagal Theory. When we are in green, we are relaxed and our heart and respiration are slow. We can digest our food, we can nap, we enjoy being with loved ones, and we can relate to them. The moment the lower brain feels there's danger, it moves the biology into yellow. The vagus nerve shuts down all the organs below the diaphragm and speeds up the ones above the diaphragm. We get an immediate increase of available energy or superhuman strength in order to escape danger. This is an amazing thing that the human body can do in a split second. Our bodies were designed to do this for very brief periods of time. We don't want to get stuck in the danger zone of yellow, where we
Right.
cannot digest our food, we cannot sleep, and we cannot enjoy or
Lost
relate
the
to our loved ones.
appetite when you're
There
stressed
are
and
usually two
depressed.
reasons
Think
we get
about
stuck in
it.
fight flight. We are living in an unsafe situation, and the accurate assessment is that we are in danger or feeling threatened. Or we may have an unresolved trauma from the past, which the lower brain feels is happening now, in the present moment.
Wow.
Being in the red zone is more rare. This is where the lower brain perceives that the body is not going to survive the experience and shuts it down. The body becomes immobilized to play dead and is anesthetized to minimize suffering. The consciousness or soul can
Wow.
actually leave the body, be separate or disassociated from it. Again, this is an amazing biological accomplishment as this happens in a split
Schizophrenic.
second. We see this with high impact trauma, with early and chronic abuse such as satanic ritual abuse, SRA, and in War and Torture.
Schizophrenic.
The eyes are vacant, the voice is monotone, and the body is lifelessly still, meaning there is no fidgeting, gesturing, or normal movement in the body.
Wow.
Self-assessing.
Mm.
Since our human family is now living in the yellow zone so much
Shit
of
is
the time,
creepy,
let's look more
y'all.
closely at the spectrum of yellow and the difference between the fight and flight side, or the victim-victimizer signals in the body. We are looking at increasing levels of activation, which means increased levels of available energy. Using a scale of 1 to 10, we can have low-level activation, which is a feeling of unease on the flight side and irritability on the fight side. In the mid-range, we have anxiety on the flight side and anger on the fight side. At the high end, we have panic and rage, which are getting closer to the threshold where the body switches into freeze or red. Creating conditions. The issue with the survival brain is that we cannot fake it out. If we want to relax, we actually have to create the conditions for the physiology to move into green in order to relax.
Wow.
If we live with a predator, if we work under a predator, if we do not have our basics needs met, we are going to be in yellow. So part of being able to clear fear means making lifestyle choices that help the brain and nervous system register that we are safe. Implicit memory. Current estimates are that the lower brain is taking in about 40,000 data bits per moment.
Wow.
This is what we refer to as the hard drive or our unconscious mind. It is recording everything, far too much material to push into our conscious awareness.
This is
We
creepy.
get an estimated 25 to 35 of these data bits registering on a conscious level. This is called implicit memory, rather than explicit or conscious memory. The hard drive records past threats in a special category, so that if a similar cluster of data bits arise that were present when something traumatizing happened, we get the jump on it and move into the yellow zone more quickly.
Wow.
Shaping of collective. In understanding implicit memory, or the content which is recorded but not conscious, it is easy to see how this could be manipulated by those who would like to keep people in fear and keep our physiology in the yellow zone.
I'm blown away.
In the yellow zone, we are less able to respond to the present moment. Our bandwidth of awareness gets narrower as we look for the external threat or reason for our tension and discomfort. We no longer see beauty, feel comfort, or experience balance in our life.
Wow.
It is as if looking for danger gets to go to the front of the line, skipping in front of all other perceptions coming in. It isn't difficult to see how our news and entertainment is purposely designed to keep us at a constant 6 or 7 in the levels of activation.
Yeah, that's why we
They
gotta
are
be
getting more
careful what
adept
we
at
tune
reaching for our
into.
adrenal glands and giving them a squeeze.
Wow.
The culture of keeping people in the yellow zone has been in the making for a long while.
Fear.
Traumatic memory. A woman who was sexually assaulted in a cedar room may develop an
Listen.
aversion to the smell of cedar without making the
Listen.
connection. Whenever she smells cedar, the survival brain will shift her into yellow as a precaution.
I had a friend,
She
every
may
time
start to
she
feel
smelled
anxiety without
coconut,
knowing why, which
it
changes
would
how she
remind
moves through
her
the
what
rest of her
happened
day.
to her as a child.
Until this trauma is cleared from the hard drive, these triggers interfere with her ability to respond to the now moment. Trauma is not in the event, it is in the nervous system. The traumatic memory will keep showing up in the present until it is cleared. Manipulation. In a similar way, the Na may try to activate or use the implicit memory packets we have of past personal traumas. They may also embed false memories
Use
in
your
our hard
past
drive
against
so that we
you.
have traumatic responses to things that should not trigger us at all.
Right.
They also play on collective trauma that is in the planetary field memory. They may try to trigger a mass reaction by activating a collective implicit memory packet of the Lemurian Holocaust or Atlantean cataclysm.
Rodney King
This works because
being,
we have
or
no conscious memory
black
of those
woman
events,
getting
so how
shot
could we
up by
possibly identify the
police,
source? The cellular
stuff like
memory of an
that.
exploding planet can be elicited at the end of the cycle, without the masses knowing where their anxiety of cataclysm is coming from. In the ego personality matrix of the first three dimensions, 1D,
Listen.
2D, 3D, this is the game being played in the nervous system. Broadcasting fear, promoting service
brain.
to self, and keeping the survival brain running the show. Until we are able to clear fear, which often means clearing trauma, we are susceptible to triggers from these implicit memory packets.
Wow. Mind slides.
Soul and monad. As we move into the soul matrix, 4D, 5D, 6D,
Crucifixion
spheres have less influence,
implants.
and even less in the monadic matrix, 7D, 8D, 9D.
Wow.
Now that the trans-time continuum is opening our access into other timelines and dimensions that were not previously available to us, people who are starting to embody the monad may find themselves feeling deeply triggered. They may be dealing with new implicit memory packets from other aspects of their identity, starting to be recollected and returned. Recently in the ES community, there has been a group processing Lyran memories. If this happens, understand it for what it is. We are actually just hitting larger chunks of the traumatic memories from timeline trigger events further out in the timelines. During stress, back to the basics. This information is shared from the perspective that if we can identify when our nervous system is tweaked and our physiology has shifted into fight-flight, we can take the necessary steps to shift out of it. Being better informed gives us more choice in how we respond.
That's
When we
right.
find ourselves stressed out, it is important to slow down and create the conditions for the lower brain to assess that we are actually safe again.
Right.
This releases the physiology from hyperstimulation and allows the body to get back to green and relax. Starseed's nervous systems are highly sensitive and run a lot of frequency and may benefit from some extra supplementation. When the charge is so helpful. If the
Mhm.
body is stuck in yellow, it burns up the body's resources more quickly.
Wow.
So, we are best served by taking some time out to deactivate our nervous system rather than pushing through and overriding the signals of stress. If you notice you are triggered or activated, slow down and ask yourself what just happened. What was the trigger? If you can't connect it to something conscious, consider that it is connected to implicit memory, possibly even from another timeline.
Magic.
Treat it the same, work to clear the associated fears, to help clear the pain and trauma from the subconscious hard drive.
Wow.
Overcoming fear journaling.
Mm.
Overcoming our deep fears can be a hurdle as they tend to gain power when they are hidden inside our mind.
Pay
We are
attention,
not used to going
please.
deeper and having a conversation around them or addressing them, saying them out loud, writing them down, and meditating upon them.
Yeah.
When we can identify fear based thoughts, triggers, and beliefs from out of our mind and put them on paper, then we have taken the first step in demystifying them, distancing from them, and diminishing the emotional charge they have upon our body.
Wow.
Remember that darkness and
Burn
fear
that
hide in the
paper.
shadows of our mind in order to stay in control.
Mhm.
When we bring these fears into the light of day, much of the weight and burden they carry behind the scenes dissolves. There can be a miraculous alchemy that occurs when we shift perceptions of fear into the compassionate witness of unconditional love. Observing the mental idea of the fear as it is attached to a dark, intelligent energy, and realizing that shadow fragment needs to be exposed to unconditional love and light. Don't be afraid to face the dark spirit that resides inside the fear, as when you see what really created the fear, it is the moment you realize what was really hiding behind the curtain, like in The Wizard of Oz.
What?
All of these fears were running the grand illusion. Write down the list of fears, how they manipulate and limit you, and intend to shift them into the love vibration in order to create safety for yourself.
Is y'all hearing this?
Now you may want to allow some space for
Wow.
meditation, to go deeper and ask where these fears have come from, where they have
Mhm.
originated.
Mhm.
Pay attention to what you may notice coming up that
Always
is not
test the
true.
spirit.
Many
Ask
times,
God, is
our
it
fears
of?
are based in deceptions from misinterpretations and what others have told us that is actually not true. When you sense other times you felt afraid and they are connected to the basis of current fears, send love to yourself in that timeline where you were feeling scared. Spend some time meditating on what lessons you can learn from that fear and how you can transform this experience into light and wisdom, something
Mhm.
positive for all involved.
That's right.
Acknowledge that everyone has fear and fear has purpose in
Always
our
gonna be a
spiritual
happy
journey.
ending.
It holds the most important spiritual lessons for our ultimate growth and liberation if we are
Yep.
willing to let it go.
It builds
Appreciate all
character.
that you have undergone in your life to get this far and acknowledge the unique parts that have made you the person that you are today because
Right.
you had the courage to face your fears.
Ooh.
The story of facing our fears and overcoming them is deeply inspirational and supportive for everyone. Many enjoy and gain the benefits from the storyline on learning what others have done to gain the courage to overcome great challenges and fears in their life.
Wow.
Maybe you are one of those people who will share your inspiring story on how you faced darkness with courage and were able
Yes,
to
I
overcome
am.
fears while on the ascending path.
Yes.
Please only take what is useful for your spiritual growth and discard all the rest.
Wow.
Thank you for your courage and bravery to be a truth seeker.
Mhm.
I am God, sovereign, free. Until next, stay in the luminosity of your avatar Christos Sophia heart path. Please be kind to yourself and each other.
Wow.
GSF. With a loving heart, Lisa.
Lisa.
Category.
Ascension Glossary. Rocks with it because of this type of information that it shares. Okay. It's very important for us to know, right? It's very important for us to know who our enemies are, where the attacks are coming from. Because once you pinpoint it, you can narrow things down and figure out where it's coming from, and you can now combat it. But you can't combat the situation if you don't know where you're being attacked from, who's attacking you. All right. And you have to prepare yourself. Ask the Most High to give you the courage, the strength, the one inside of you and outside of you. Yes, they work in conjunction. You ask your holy mother and father. All right. Because as above, so below. If you have a mother and father in earth, you have a mother and father in heaven. So you communicate with your mother as well. All right. And your father. Asking for assistance and guidance throughout, you know, the whole experience of what you're going through, because you have to know and understand that, right? You're going to be under attack. It's going to come to you. And you have to know and understand that it states, what is the saying? No weapon formed against me shall prosper, right? So think about that and what it's saying. It's saying that the weapons will be formed against you, but they will not prosper. So you will have to go through something and face your fear in order for you to be able to get over or accomplish whatever goal, right? Whatever is coming at you, it will penetrate you possibly, but it will not prosper. It will not affect you in the long run. It's just a fight that's preparing you. This is a little fight that's preparing you for the big fight. All right. So this is one thing that I had to know and understand, that all of my life I had to fight. Right. And I guess I'm gonna be fighting for the rest of my life, because I'm not, I'm not about to allow these fear tactics, I will call them, to affect me and my goals. You know, they may hinder your progress a little bit, but they can't stop you, right? One thing you have to know and understand is that's what's meant for you. What is meant for you, no one can take away. Okay. So a lot of times people try to instill fear in you to stop you from doing what you need to do to accomplish your goal. You may have a special gift that they're jealous of, that they mad that they don't have, so they try to stop you from using that gift. There's a lot of reasons why people do certain things, but like I said, you have to know or figure out where it's coming from in order for you to know how to combat it. It's very important, y'all. It's very important. I hope you guys basically got some information from this. Like I said, I had to go. I've been doing reels lately, but on this one, nah, I had to come personal. You know, I wanted to come live and direct with you guys, because this is a personal situation. This is a personal topic. This is a touchy topic, right? That most people like don't even realize where their fear is coming from, or where the enemy is coming from, where the attacks is coming from. Okay? But it's all of the spiritual realm. You know, a lot of our attacks come from these demonic spirits that we've either attached ourselves to through having sex with someone, because you know spirits, they travel from person to person. That's why you got to be careful who you shake your hand, whose hands you shake. You have to be careful who you hug, who you let touch you or pray over you, and things like that, because those spirits that is attached to that person who you allowed to touch you and call themselves anointing you has now jumped onto you. And you might wake up one morning and you not even realizing why you're acting the way you're acting is because of who you came in contact with. All right. So listen, it's very important, y'all. I need y'all to wake up, wake up, wake up. It's time. It is time, y'all. We got to wake up, and we have to stop living in fear. Fear is the cousin of death. It ain't sleep, because I'm going to tell y'all don't even know what time it is right now. I'm up. I'm up because they say the devil, right, works 24/7. The devil don't sleep. The devil don't sleep. So that means there's a lot of days and nights that I don't sleep either, because I'm combating the devil. All right. I am a demon slayer. And I know that. I was born for this. That's why I've been attacked all of my life, even in the womb. I can't make this shit up, y'all. And as I go through this ascension glossary thing, I see that a lot of this stuff that has been happening to me, it's all being revealed through ascension glossary. It's crazy. Okay, when it comes to these mind slides, when it comes to these implants and things like that, I've noticed that people around me were a part of this system that was created to destroy people like me. And I can't make this up, y'all. In time, everything was revealed because I asked for it to be revealed. I seeked and I found certain things that I noticed that were strange. I researched it. You know what I'm saying? Things that didn't make sense to me. I didn't take everything for face value. I questioned things. I asked them who sent you. I asked questions. I tested the spirit. And that's what we're supposed to do, because you can't have people around you who say, "Oh, I love you, I love you, I love you, I want to spend the rest of my life with you," right? But then when you look in their phone or you look on their social media, it's saying something different. So something is wrong somewhere. Either somebody's lying, or somebody's confused, or somebody's just manipulating the situation to gain certain things. Okay. Um, and that's what people do. You know, you have these sociopathic people, you have these narcissistic people, you have these just straight evil people, devilish people who will manipulate you to get whatever it is that they want out of you. And if they can't get it, they will try to destroy you and take whatever it is you have that they wanted that they couldn't get. So now I need you guys to stay focused, right? Be very, very careful, ladies, as to who you allow in your home around your children, especially your little girls. Okay? Because a man will get mad at you and take it out on your children in any which way they can. You have certain people, not just men, people, period. But ladies, I was just talking to you real quick for a second. I need y'all to focus because we are the head of households, okay? We are the ones who are raising our children. We are the ones who are housing them. We are the ones who are clothing them. We're the ones who are feeding them, right? So we have to also be the ones to protect them. We have to protect these our children from these predators. We have people out here who will prey on you just to get closer to your child. Okay? So all of you mothers who got daughters who way thicker than them, be mindful as to what type of men you bring around them, okay? Because little do you know, a man's revenge could be sleeping with your daughter, raping your baby, and destroying her for the rest of her life. This is how trauma starts, okay? This is called, what is it, the sexual ritual act, okay? That's how it starts. So you got to be very careful. And they do it to the boys too. They do it to the boys too. We got to be careful. Some of these men be faking like they straight and they really be going both ways. Some be gay, some to be bi, some be, what is it? A binary, not knowing transformers, not knowing which way they want to go, just experimenting with everything. And they will experiment with your child. All right. And that will cause fear in your child. It will cause fear in you. Okay. You will never trust another man again in your life. And it will cause trauma that will carry on into adulthood, right? It can carry on into your elderly years. Some people never get over it. Some women turn into mass murderers. I already said it. If it would have happened to me as a child, there's no telling who I would have become today. There's no telling who or what I would have done and where I would be. All right. So I thank the Most High for sparing me. Woo. I thank the Most High for sparing me because I see so many of my friends who have been traumatized in that fashion and they're still trying to get themselves together. Yes, they have children and it just seems like the trauma, it just goes from generation to generation to generation because these are these people's plan. They want the trauma and the fear to go from generation to generation. They said back in the day, our parents used to instill fear in us because they were so afraid that massa was going to get a hold of their children and they'd never see them again. So they instilled fear in their children to prevent them from saying certain things around massa and doing certain things around massa, fearing reading and writing and things like that because of the fear tactic. So I just had to share this with you guys today. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things going on, like I said, in this world, and we have to be prepared. Woo, we have to be prepared. Listen,